In 1988, I was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis by a neurologist. And back in that time, he told me that there was no hope for a cure. He told me that I would be completely disabled in time. I had always considered myself a healthy person, and that was the biggest shock in my life. And I really felt that my life was over when I heard that. And the unfortunate thing is that this has not changed a lot since that time, which is over 37 years ago. Today, there still is no cure for multiple sclerosis or any other chronic disease, and they don't know what causes it. Yet today, even though I was given that horrible diagnosis and prognosis, I have been able to live over 37 years now, free of multiple sclerosis, and I would have to say that I live a much healthier and active life than many people my age. So if you have been diagnosed with some type of chronic disease, maybe it's MS, maybe it's something else, and you've tried so many different things, just know that it is not your fault, and it is not that you haven't tried hard enough. The biggest reason is that most people have never been shown how to recover, how recovery actually works. First of all, we have to make a decision. If we keep doing the same thing, nothing changes. The decision is not, I hope or I wish. It's really, I am making the decision to take a different path. That was me 28 years ago, or I should say, 37 years ago. I was 28 years old at that time. And so when I did see that neurologist and he told me there was no hope for a cure, that I would be completely disabled in time, I did stumble across 5 different medical doctors that back in the day, they were talking about how chronic infections in the body caused disease, multiple sclerosis and all other diseases. And that gave me hope. So that's the time when I made the decision, when I decided not to follow standard of care, which gave me no hope for a cure. I decided to figure it out. I didn't have a coach. I didn't have any guidance other than those books that I read. We didn't even have the internet back then, or I didn't have it. I was speaking with somebody today who was working with a naturopath for probably about 15 years. And that naturopath is like, no, I don't believe that you have parasites. It's all diet. You're going to be able to get better with diet. And then when you've been doing the same thing with the same practitioner for 15 years and you expect a different outcome, it is not going to happen. So most people don't fail because they don't try hard enough. It is because they fail because they're working inside a system that doesn't lead to recovery. It is not treating the root cause. So today, what I'm sharing with you is all about choosing recovery and understanding why it hasn't happened for you yet. And even though you may have tried many different things to get well, so you might be dealing with fatigue and brain fog and depression, anxiety, spasticity, balance issues, mobility issues, weakness, paralysis, numbness, tingling. The symptoms go on and on and on. It doesn't matter what disease, but there is a lot of overlap in symptoms with different types of diseases. So your symptoms are not random. They are not your fault. They are caused by an imbalance in the microbes that are living in your body. I'd like you to think about a rainforest for a minute. In a rainforest, it is dense, it is alive, it is perfectly balanced, millions of different species of life living together and working together as a whole system in a healthy way. And that is what is supposed to be true in our digestive tract. We're supposed to have these many different types of microbes. There could be tens of thousands of microbes. We don't even know what they all are yet. We don't even understand all of them yet. But they're supposed to work together and keep us healthy. And this is our internal living environment. Trillions of microbes that live in our body. They help us to digest our food. They make vitamins for us. They actually impact which genes are turned on and which genes are turned off. They calm inflammation. They support our immune system. They act as our natural defense. They protect us from parasites. So this is not a very small detail at all. This is huge. This is truly the foundation for health. And yet most people think that, if I'm going to work on my gut health, I'll just take a probiotic. And that would be similar to taking a glass of water and throwing it into the Amazon rainforest and saying, oh, well, we've just really given it lots of water or we've restored it. It just doesn't happen that way. So this is the truth that people have never been told, that our internal environment, the microbes that live inside our body, they influence our health much more than diet, exercise, and supplements. So maybe you're focusing on diet, exercise, and supplements, which is great to do that. But if you have a lot of parasites, if your microbiome is really out of balance, you're not going to get well. So this is why eating clean, eating organic does not help us to recover. And this is why when we take a lot of supplements that they don't really make a difference, they give us expensive urine, as the doctors would say. Sometimes they actually feed the parasites and we can actually feel worse on them. And also exercise. If your body is extremely taxed with a parasitic infestation, it's really struggling, and then you add on more stress from exercising, that's going to increase more inflammation. Of course, that would be a healthier stress on the body if you weren't so stressed already. So exercising too much of it and not in the right way can actually make matters worse. Your body wants to heal, but it is under constant attack. It's kind of like a war that has gone sideways, where the good guys, your immune cells, are not able to defend you from the parasites, from the bad guys. So recovery begins when we stop asking this question, what else should I do? And we start asking the question, what is actually making me sick? What is causing these symptoms? Is it really my immune system is attacking my tissue for no reason? Does that even make sense to you? No, it doesn't. And so it's not just about worms. Parasites would be any microbe that lives in your body and causes you harm. This would include worms, protozoa, bacteria, fungi. And so these are all different types of microbes that will make us sick. They can cause nutritional deficiencies. They produce a lot of toxins. They cause inflammation, and inflammation is where our immune system is fighting infection. They disrupt our immune system and immune function, and they also depend on us to survive. They are freeloaders. They are using our nutrients, and they're producing toxins, and they are freeloaders. So we talked about some of the different types of parasites, but worms would be roundworms and flatworms, and they are more common than you think. We all have parasites. If you live on planet Earth, we all have parasites. It's just the degree to which we have them. So things like tapeworms and flukes are really common, and roundworms in people that are dealing with symptoms and chronic diseases like MS and others. Protozoa, maybe you've heard about Giardia, or else you've heard about Toxoplasma, Babesia, malaria. These are all single-celled parasites they have a more complex structure than bacteria, but they can cause a lot of harm in our body. Then there's bacteria. You might have heard of Lyme disease, which is Borrelia. It's a type of bacteria. And there's Bartonella, there's Clostridia, which are some really awful bacteria that can cause a lot of problems. E. coli, Chlamydia pneumoniae. Those are just a few different bacteria. Then we have Candida and Aspergillus, which are two types of fungi, whether it's yeast or mold. Those are really common when we're dealing with a lot of symptoms. So if parasites would not be a problem in humans, then why is it that our veterinarians are treating our animals for parasites? Why did we treat our dogs, our cats, our horses, our cattle, any livestock, any pets we have? The vets will routinely treat parasites at least once a year, but sometimes some of the vets are treating like 3 times a year, which would be even better. We're treating our dogs for parasites, but we're not treating ourselves for parasites. Does that make any sense? Humans are not different. We are just being ignored. And then we end up with this disease because we have a parasitic infestation. So our medical system is really excellent at certain things. If you're having a baby, they're wonderful. They'll take good care of you. If you're in a crisis, in a car accident, any kind of crisis intervention, they can save your life. But when we're talking about dealing with chronic disease, these symptoms, which they are calling autoimmune, which they're not, then they fall short because there is no recovery. We are expected to live on these immunosuppressive maintenance medications that have horrible adverse effects for the rest of our life, and our health continues to decline. They don't stop the progression. They don't cure us. They don't heal us. They are maintenance drugs, and they decrease our quality of life. So why aren't we treating parasites? Well, there is no financial incentive to treat parasites. It's far more profitable to prescribe these expensive disease-modifying drugs for the rest of our life. So if we work also with integrative practitioners, and this is not at any fault of any practitioner, whether it's medical or integrative, they're doing what they have been trained in. They're doing what they believe because they've been trained for so many years in these methodologies. But even working with integrative practitioners, they don't know, most of them do not know how to identify parasites. They don't have good tests either. They don't know how to treat them. They're not comfortable. They might use herbs, but herbs alone are not going to help us recover from chronic disease. So they might send us for like allergy testing and desensitizing and genetic testing and stool testing and blood work looking for different infections. And those tests might pick up 10% of the parasites that we have. So it can be very, very expensive, upwards of $10,000 for just testing. And we have very little information about which are the infections that are causing our sickness. So also endless supplements. Some of you have been on tons and tons of supplements and you're still sick because the supplements are not going to treat the root cause. So meanwhile, the parasites, the root cause of our symptoms, is still present. It's never been addressed. And this is why we remain sick and our health continues to decline even when we're doing all the right things, when we think we're doing all the right things. So again, my story, I was diagnosed in 1988. I was 28 years old. I had been healthy all my life. How do you go from being healthy all your life to all of a sudden you have this incurable disease that's taking over your body? That doesn't make sense either, does it? But I did have a lot of symptoms of parasites. I didn't really know about parasites. Our doctors didn't treat parasites even at that time. But I was a young mom and I was healthy. I was eating healthy. I was raising young children. I lost all vision in my left eye. It was like I had a black patch over my eye for I can't remember, it was like within 3 days it went black. And then it was for probably like a week or two. And then I was put on prednisone and I got a little bit of my vision back in that left eye, but not much. And that was really the darkest day of my life. I was told my life was over. I was told I wouldn't be able to take care of my family. I would be a burden to my husband. And by the grace of God, I cried out to God and I begged him for help. And that started my journey. My mother-in-law gave me a book on integrative health. And that doctor was the first doctor that I found. And he was talking 40 years ago about how these chronic infections in the body cause all kinds of diseases. And that gave me hope. And again, I made the decision. So is this the year where you're going to take a different path like I did? Are you going to make a different decision? Otherwise, nothing is going to change. Your health, sure, eat right, exercise the best you can, take the right supplements, but treat the root cause, or else your health will continue to decline. So I chose not to accept disability, and I chose to treat the root cause and to do whatever I could to get my health back. Did I know exactly that I would be this successful? No, I didn't. But when your intention is very clear and your why is very strong, then miracles can happen. By the grace of God, miracles can happen. So I have researched for decades, had the amazing privilege to coach thousands of people by now. This is our 10th year, the Live Disease-Free plan of serving people all over the world. If you want to watch some of the successes of our students, go onto our YouTube channel, livediseasefree.com, and you can see there's a playlist of successes. Take some Kleenexes because it's just going to make you cry with happy tears when you see their successes. So it's not just me. I'm not a one-off. I decided to treat the root cause. I didn't know exactly which parasites I was dealing with, but again, when you make that decision and you have a clear intention and a clear why, then the how-to shows up, and then you implement, you're diligent. The exciting thing is that now we have a plan. We have a proven plan. So you don't have to do guesswork. You don't have to try to figure this out. You can try to find a doctor that will help you, but it's pretty hard. They don't understand how to treat parasites. They don't know what you're dealing with. They're not comfortable with the parasite drugs. They might use herbs, and herbs alone are not effective enough. So the recovery path that we follow, I'm going to share with you the 4 steps. Number 1 is you've got to stop feeding the parasites so much. Their favorite source of energy is simple sugars and carbohydrates. So when you decrease the carbs low enough, you will notice the inflammation will start to go down. The parasites will be less active. I'm going to share with you in a minute 2 students. We have our live calls. It was yesterday, and it's truly miraculous the symptom improvements these 2 are having with just the diet and starting to support the body. They haven't even started treating yet. So you don't have to wait to start feeling better. You can start by going on our website, livediseasefree.com. Under research, you'll see the diet guidelines, the Live Disease-Free diet guidelines. Start to change your diet today. Take it really seriously, and you will be so surprised at how you start feeling better. So the Live Disease-Free diet is completely geared towards decreasing the activity of the parasites, which is going to make you feel a lot better, and it's going to make you tolerate the treatments a lot better also. The second is to support the body. So this is where we make sure that we're having daily bowel movements. We open the detox pathways, because when you start treating, you want these parasites to come out like daily. You do not want them to be digested in your body, all their heavy metals that they have and all their smaller parasites. You want them out right away. So this is where we want to make sure you're not sleep deprived, and you're also having daily bowel movements. And there are a few other things, looking at your blood work, supporting your physiology. And the 2 environmental factors that we really focus on is making sure you don't have mold in your home, and making sure you decrease the wireless radiation so you can heal faster, because that radiation, it bothers the parasites, it makes them grow faster, and they produce more poisons. So that's step number 2, is to support the body. So stop feeding them so much. You can't starve them to death with diet alone. You have to treat them to get them out of your body. But diet is the first foundational step. The next one is, after supporting the body, is the treatment phase. And it breaks my heart. I was talking to a lady today. She's going to join our program. And she was like, I've tried all these different parasite drugs. And I'm just like, I cringe when I hear that, because it's like, you don't know what you're doing. You're not using, what if you're taking treatments you don't need? What if you are taking suboptimal doses and the parasites become resistant, and those treatments are not going to work for you in the future? Parasites do become resistant to these drugs. And I know that there's this big craze of these 2 parasite drugs that all these practitioners are talking about, but that's not going to cure the disease you're dealing with. It's not a cookie cutter treatment plan. Each of the parasite drugs, they're specific for different types of parasites, which you may or you may not have. So it's really important that you're using the treatments that you need for the parasites that you have, and you're using doses that are effective. And even like one parasite drug is not going to get rid of all the roundworms in your body. We're using combinations of like 3 to 4 parasite drugs to treat things like flukes and roundworms. It's not that simple. I wish it was. If it was, we would write a book and we would cure the world. It's not that simple. So treatment involves, yes, the parasite drugs, and yes, these antimicrobial herbs and oxidizing, like oxygen type therapies. Another thing that really breaks my heart is that, on social media, we see these people that are like, oh, I treated all my parasites and I took these liquid, like wormwood, black walnut, and cloves, and I took, 10 drops of this 3 times a day, and I got rid of all my parasites. I'm like, you don't even know what you're talking about. Like, sure, if you're a healthy person and you would like to use these antimicrobial herbs, there's some benefit to it, but they are not going to clear all the parasites out of your body. We have been doing this for 10 years, and we know, like, especially when you have chronic disease, they don't come out with just the herbs, especially when you have parasites in your central nervous system or in your organs, or they've moved into your blood, or even the very large worms that are in your intestines. They're tricky to get out. They like it in your body. They do not want to leave. I'm not saying herbs are not valuable. We love them. We would prefer only to use them. But if you want to recover from chronic disease, you can try the herbs, but you'll see that, oh, they're not that effective. I might have passed a few worms, but I still have chronic disease. So this is why it's really important to use the treatments that are geared towards the parasites you have, and then to use the right doses, to use combinations of them, to use antimicrobial herbs. They're better for like the bacteria and the protozoa. Definitely fungal also it's helpful for that. But then also the oxygen therapies. So if we just use herbs, or we just use the parasite drugs, and we don't use those oxidizing enemas, the worms don't necessarily all come out. They don't totally die. They're suffering, but they're kind of moving down the small intestine into the large, and they're still there. And that's why it's so important to be using things like the oxidizing enema to help to clear the worms out of the large intestine. So when you use all of this and more, it's miraculous. And I'm going to share with you a couple of incredible successes. And these are just 2 students that shared yesterday that are just getting ready to treat. They haven't even started treating yet. Step number 4, once you have treated over multiple cycles, which is 4 to 6 weeks per each cycle, depending on how sick you are, it might be 6 cycles, it might be 12 cycles, it could be a year and a half of cycles, but you're getting better and better. And once you no longer are passing visible worms and you have been symptom-free for, let's say, a couple of months, then sure, you can stop treating, but then don't just stop forever. Like then go, okay, well, I'm not treating my over regular cycles, like every 4 to 6 weeks. I'm going to now treat, like spread it out to 3 months or 2 months and treat again and see, are you still passing worms? Did you still have eggs in you? Did they hatch? And then you're like, oh no, I'm good. So then maybe you're going to do it 2 or 3 times a year, right? You will still be exposed to parasites. The more you learn the skill, or the better you learn the skill, is really how people can live a very long, healthy, and happy life. So for myself, turned 64. I cannot believe it. Like, I literally was shopping with my daughter last weekend, and they're like, are you a senior? And I'm like, oh, I guess I am. She's like, are you over 55? And I'm like, yeah, I'm like 64. And so we got a discount, which was lovely, but I don't feel like a senior citizen. And I'm sure that I'm a lot more healthy than a lot of people my age that have never even been diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. And that is because I've learned these skills. If you want to stay out of the care homes, if you want to make sure that you are not just disabled and at home, you really need to learn this skill. It's how to manage the internal environment, how to manage the microbes in your body, how to keep the parasites down, how to keep the health promoting microbes up. So important. So again, once you're well, it's about protecting your health. That's how I've been able to live now 37 years MS free. Every year is like adding another year. Being active, making sure your nutrition is high, making sure that you do stress management. We're under a lot of stress these days. Sunshine, hydration, all the things you know that you're doing already, and you're like, why is it not working? You never treated the parasites. So yes, once you're well, periodic parasite treatments, but then you know how to treat. You know how to be the director of your health. No one is coming to rescue your health. No one is. But you can. Recovery really requires that you treat the root cause, you take charge of your health, and instead of managing your symptoms, you actually treat the parasites that are causing your symptoms and your sickness, because your health is truly your greatest asset. You cannot afford to leave your health solely in the hands of any one healthcare expert. So if you want to learn more about, like in detail, like how we treat, I have a masterclass training where I share all the steps. This is from a decade of working with thousands of people. We have a lot of valuable insights that will help you to recover much more quickly than even working with a practitioner that's willing to work with you, because it's all trial and error. With this, it's not trial and error. So watch my masterclass training. I share all the steps we take. And then if you're like, okay, Pam, I've been following you for a while. I've looked at a lot of your videos on YouTube, Facebook. I've gone to your blog posts. I've gone through your notes, and I know that I have parasites. And if that's you, then you can just fill out the form and you can book a time to chat with me to see if it's a good fit for us to work together. And you can start on your journey to recover, not to live with chronic disease. So what I wanted to share with you is these two amazing students. So this is I just only picked two because I didn't want it to go too long, but Trisha is in the program right now. She's just getting ready to treat. Her wins, so this is from her words. She said, "My legs continue to feel so much stronger. The weak and heavy feeling has not returned." So as soon as she changed her diet within, I don't know, a couple of weeks, like before it was a struggle to walk around in her house. And then all of a sudden she woke up one morning and she's like, I can just move around in the house like crazy. So, and since then, her leg strength has remained. So she said, walking just feels so normal. My energy is way up. Most days I make it through without taking a nap. I feel so much more productive. I have arthritis also in my lower back, and I used to have so much pain when I was trying to stand up. I would walk bent over for the first 15 to 20 steps. Now I can stand straight. She can just basically get up, stand up straight with no pain at all. My bladder incontinence has also really improved. So this is just with supporting her body, the diet and supporting her body. She has not even started treating yet. So in her words, she shared, I can't even begin to tell you how my successes have made me feel. It's not just physical, but it's mentally also. I feel like I'm close to being ready to start treating now, which is so awesome. This is what she has done just with diet alone. She has not even started to treat the parasites. So she's making them more quiet, less active, less toxins are produced. Then her immune system doesn't have to work as hard. The war is becoming less in her body. But if she doesn't treat the parasites, if she goes back to eating the favorite food for the parasites, her symptoms would return. So she's not well, but this is the first step for recovery, is getting ready to treat. Now, the next student is Erin, and she was diagnosed with MS, and she also has type 1 and type 2 diabetes and Lyme disease. Like, MS is bad enough, right? So she has not even started treating yet. And she shared, for the first time in a year, I can feel my foot. It is amazing to feel I'm standing in the shower and not just feel like a floating head. It's cool to feel when I'm stretching my calf. I haven't felt these things in over a year. I'm attributing to this following the Live Disease-Free diet and lowering inflammation in my body. So sensation is returning for her, and this is before she's even starting to treat. And yes, diabetes, heart disease, cancer, they're all linked with different types of parasites in our body. Inflammation, by definition, inflammation means your immune system is fighting something. The main cause of what it would be fighting is parasites, infections, and that's why all chronic disease, they're all inflammatory conditions, and that is the biggest cause of disease. Next week, I will be back covering another incredibly important topic. And so what I would do if I were you is make sure to check out the diet on our website, livediseasefree.com, under research. And then also, if you're kind of like, well, Pam, I've been following you and I get it, and I'm actually ready now. We've had a lot of people that, over Christmas, the symptoms are worse because of the sugar and the carbs and the stress and the lack of sleep, all of those things. And they're like, okay, I'm done with this now. I'm moving forward. I've made the decision. Watch my masterclass training, and then you can book a time to chat with me to make sure it's a good fit. And if you appreciate all the research and everything that I share with you, because I truly care about your health, I want you to live your best life, please like, share, and subscribe. That's something you can do that helps others to see this, and it will give them hope also. So with that, I'm going to let you guys go. Have a wonderful week, and we will talk to you next week. Take care and bye-bye for now.